I'm standing in my living room right now, 2 suitcases packed by the door, staring at my son Marcus, who just screamed those 3 words that changed everything. Move out, I'm done with you. 3 years of living together after my wife died have come down to this single moment. His pregnant girlfriend Amanda stands right behind him, arms crossed tight, looking victorious like she's already won some kind of prize. I look around slowly at this house I built with my own 2 hands 40 years ago. The house where I raised Marcus from a baby, the house he thinks he's about to inherit without lifting a finger. Marcus has absolutely no idea what's coming his way. Neither does Amanda. I smile quietly to myself, and that smile holds a secret they won't discover until it's far too late. Let me take you back to 1983 when this whole story really begins. That's when my late wife Sarah and I built this house from the ground up. I worked as a construction foreman for 38 years, and every board, every nail, every coat of paint in this place came from my own labor and sweat. Sarah picked out the tile for the kitchen, chose the color for each room, planted the garden out back that still blooms every spring. We raised Marcus here, gave him everything a child could want. When Sarah died from cancer 15 years ago, Marcus was only 20. I became a single father overnight, working full-time while helping my son through college. I paid every single penny of his tuition, never asked him to take out loans, never expected him to pay me back. Marcus studied business administration, got his degree, and I was so proud watching him walk across that stage. I thought I'd done everything right, but Marcus struggled after graduation. He bounced between jobs for years, never quite finding his footing. Marketing firms, sales positions, management training programs that never led anywhere. He had the education but not the drive, always blaming his bosses or his coworkers or the economy when things didn't work out. 3 years ago, when I turned 64 and finally retired with my modest pension, Marcus lost his job at yet another marketing firm. He called me on a Tuesday evening, voice small like when he was a kid asking for help with homework. He wanted to move back home temporarily with his girlfriend Amanda. Just 6 months, he promised. Maybe a year at the absolute most. He needed time to get back on his feet, save some money, figure out his next move. I said yes immediately. What kind of father would I be if I didn't help my own son? I was actually happy about it at first. The house had felt so empty after Sarah passed, and having Marcus around again seemed like a blessing. Amanda seemed nice enough when I first met her. She worked part-time at a salon downtown, doing nails and chatting with customers. Those first 6 months were actually fine. Marcus spent his days job hunting, sending out resumes, going to interviews. Amanda kept working her shifts at the salon. They helped with groceries sometimes, kept their space clean, seemed genuinely appreciative that I'd opened my home to them. I thought we were doing okay. Then something shifted. Marcus stopped looking for work quite so seriously. He became comfortable. The urgency disappeared. He'd sleep until 10 in the morning, spend afternoons playing video games, send out maybe 1 resume a week. When I'd ask about his job search, he'd get defensive, say the market was tough, say he was being selective about opportunities. Around month 8, Amanda started redecorating. She didn't ask permission, just started changing things. New curtains appeared in the living room. The furniture got rearranged. She painted the hallway without mentioning it to me first. When I came home from running errands one Saturday, I found her throwing out some of Sarah's cherished belongings, things I'd kept in the living room as memories. I protested as gently as I could. Those items meant something to me. Sarah had picked out that vase on our anniversary trip to Vermont. That throw blanket was the first thing she ever knitted. Amanda just looked at me with this patient smile like I was a confused child. Marcus came in from the kitchen and sided with her immediately. "Dad, you need to move on," he said. "Mom's been gone for years now. You can't live in a museum." Those words stung worse than anything. I wasn't living in a museum. I was living with memories of the woman I'd loved for 35 years. But I stayed silent because I didn't want to cause conflict. I told myself it was just redecorating, just Amanda trying to make the space feel like home. I could be flexible. Month 18 brought the pregnancy announcement. Amanda gathered us in the living room one Sunday morning, holding a little white stick, beaming with joy. Marcus looked terrified and excited at the same time. I congratulated them, hugged them both, told them I'd be there to help however they needed. But the pregnancy changed everything. Marcus and Amanda started acting like the house belonged to them. They stopped asking about anything and just started doing whatever they wanted. The biggest shock came 2 weeks after the announcement, when Marcus informed me they were taking over the master bedroom. "We need space for the baby, Dad," Marcus said, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. "The guest room isn't big enough for a nursery. You understand, right? Don't be selfish about this." Selfish. He called me selfish for wanting to keep my own bedroom in my own house. The room I'd shared with Sarah for decades. But I moved my things. I packed up my clothes, my books, Sarah's photo from the nightstand, and relocated to the smaller guest room at the end of the hall. What else could I do? They had a baby coming. I told myself I was being a good father, a supportive grandfather. Amanda's family started coming around constantly. Her mother, her brother, her sister, all treating my house like some kind of community center. They'd show up unannounced, raid my refrigerator, use my television, sprawl across my furniture. Amanda's mother was the worst. She criticized everything about me. My cooking was too plain. My habits were outdated. My lifestyle needed updating. She'd walk through my house pointing at things that needed to be changed, replaced, modernized. I felt myself shrinking, becoming smaller in my own space. But I kept quiet. I didn't want to be the difficult old man, the burden, the problem. Then came the night that cracked something open inside me. It was late, maybe 11 o'clock, and I got up to get a glass of water. As I walked down the hallway toward the kitchen, I heard voices, Marcus and Amanda, talking in low tones, probably thinking I was asleep. "Once the old man dies, this house is ours, free and clear," Marcus said, his voice casual like he was discussing the weather. Amanda laughed, actually laughed, and replied, "Or we could just make him so uncomfortable he leaves on his own. Either way works for us." I never got that glass of water. I went back to my small room, sat on the edge of my bed, and stared at the wall until sunrise. Something fundamental had broken, and I knew it could never be repaired. I never got that glass of water. I went back to my small room, sat on the edge of my bed, and stared at the wall until sunrise. Something fundamental had broken, and I knew it could never be repaired. After that night, I started paying closer attention to everything happening around me. What I saw made me sick. Marcus had stopped treating me like his father, and started treating me like an unwanted tenant, a burden taking up space in what he already considered his house. Every interaction carried this undertone of resentment, like I was inconveniencing them just by existing. Amanda's family acted like they owned the place. Her brother used my tools without asking and broke my late father's vintage saw, the one Dad had used for 40 years and passed down to me. When I got upset about it, Marcus actually defended them. "It's just a saw, Dad," he said, waving his hand dismissively. "Let it go. You're being dramatic. Just a saw. My father's saw. The one I'd used to build this very house." But apparently my feelings didn't matter anymore. Amanda's mother took it upon herself to organize my kitchen one afternoon while I was out getting groceries. I came home to find everything rearranged, cabinets reorganized, and worst of all, Sarah's old recipe box sitting in the trash can. That recipe box held every dish Sarah had perfected over 3 decades. Her handwriting filled those cards, little notes in the margins, splattered ingredients from years of cooking. I pulled it out of the trash, my hands shaking, fighting back tears. When I confronted Amanda about it, she just shrugged. "My mom was helping you declutter," she said. "You have too much old stuff. We're trying to make this place livable." Marcus walked in during this conversation and immediately took her side. "She was doing you a favor, Dad. You need to appreciate that people care enough to help you. Help me." They were erasing Sarah from her own home and calling it help. The financial exploitation started subtly. Marcus began asking me to contribute to groceries even though I owned the house outright, and they were supposed to be temporary guests. Amanda started hinting that I should help with baby expenses, buy the crib, chip in for diapers and clothes. Then Marcus suggested something that made my blood run cold. "You should add Amanda to the house deed," he said one morning over coffee. "You know, for security, in case something happens to you, we need to make sure we're protected." Protected? From what? From having to actually support themselves? I refused immediately, and Marcus got angry, actually angry, raising his voice at me in my own kitchen. "After everything we've done for you," he shouted, "we've given up our lives to take care of you, and this is how you repay us?" The irony was crushing. They'd done nothing for me. Absolutely nothing. I'd given them free housing, utilities, food, my space, my peace, and somehow they'd convinced themselves they were the ones making sacrifices. The baby arrived in early spring, a boy they named Tyler. For a brief moment, I thought maybe this would change things, bring us together as a family. I was wrong. Amanda's entire family moved in to help for what they said would be a few days but turned into 3 weeks. There were people everywhere, all the time. Amanda's mother took over the kitchen completely. Her sister monopolized the living room. Her brother used my garage as his personal workshop. I was pushed further and further to the margins of my own home. I'd eat meals alone in my small room while they had family dinners in the dining room I'd built. They'd have gatherings in my living room and not invite me. I'd hear them laughing, celebrating, bonding, and I'd sit alone in the back of the house feeling like a ghost. Marcus actually asked me to stay in my room during some of Amanda's family visits. He said it plainly, no shame in his voice. "You make them uncomfortable, Dad. Can you just hang out in your room while they're here? It would make things easier for everyone." I made them uncomfortable. In my own house. The house I built with my own hands. I was being asked to hide away like some shameful secret so other people could enjoy my home without my presence ruining things. That's when I truly realized what had happened. I'd become invisible. I'd been erased from my own life, while still physically present. I was a ghost haunting my own house, unwanted, unwelcome, tolerated only because legally they couldn't force me out. 6 months after Tyler was born, I gathered my courage and politely asked Marcus when he planned to find his own place. I wasn't demanding, wasn't angry. I just gently reminded him that this was supposed to be temporary. Marcus exploded. His face turned red, his voice went loud, and he said things I'll never forget. "This is my place," he screamed. "I grew up here. This is my childhood home. You're the one who should be thinking about leaving." Amanda rushed in from the nursery, Tyler on her hip, and joined the attack. "You should be grateful we let you stay here with us," she said, her voice cold and cutting. "Do you know how hard it is raising a baby with you lurking around? You're making everything harder. Let me stay here, in my own house. The house I owned. The house with my name on the deed." I felt something snap inside me. I stood up straighter and said clearly, firmly, "I own this house. My name is on the deed. This is my property." Marcus sneered at me, actually sneered like I was pathetic. "For now," he said. "But when you're gone, it's mine anyway. So why are you being so selfish about this? Why can't you just accept how things are?" That word again. Selfish. I was selfish for wanting to live in my own home, for wanting respect, for wanting to be treated like a human being instead of an obstacle. Then Amanda revealed something that made everything clear. She'd been talking to a lawyer about elder care options. She suggested, right there in my living room, with that fake concerned expression, that I might be losing my capacity to make good decisions. She'd been documenting things, she said, keeping notes, building a case. "We're just worried about you," she said, voice dripping with false sweetness. "You've been forgetting things, getting confused. We think you might need professional care soon. Somewhere with staff who can watch you properly." She was trying to have me declared mentally incompetent. She wanted to take control of my assets, my house, my life. And Marcus, my own son, stood there nodding along, not defending me, not standing up for his father, just agreeing that maybe I needed to be institutionalized so they could take what was mine. I looked at both of them, these people I'd welcomed into my home, and I didn't recognize them. Or maybe I finally recognized them for exactly who they were. I couldn't sleep that night. The conversation kept replaying in my mind. Amanda's suggestion about elder care, Marcus's silence, the way they looked at me like I was a problem to be solved. Around 2 a.m, I got up to use the bathroom. That's when I found it. Amanda's notebook. She'd left it on the counter in the guest bathroom, probably forgot it after getting Tyler ready for bed. I shouldn't have looked. I know that. But something made me pick it up and open to the first page. What I found made my hands shake. Pages and pages of notes, all about me. Dates, times, fabricated incidents, designed to make me look incompetent. October 3rd. Dion forgot to turn off stove, nearly caused fire. I never forgot to turn off the stove. That never happened. October 10th. Dion seemed confused about what day it was, asked what year it is. Complete lie. I'd made a joke about how fast the week had gone. She'd twisted it. October 15th. Dion repeats himself constantly, tells same stories multiple times in one day. I'd told Amanda's mother one story about Sarah because she'd asked. One story. Once. Page after page of manufactured evidence. Business cards from elder law attorneys tucked into the back. Brochures from nursing homes. Notes about my supposed declining health, my confusion, my inability to care for myself. All of it lies. All of it designed to build a legal case to have me declared incompetent so they could seize control of my assets. I stood there in that bathroom, under the harsh fluorescent light, reading my son's girlfriend's detailed plan to institutionalize me and steal my life. My heart hammered in my chest. My vision blurred with rage and heartbreak, mixed together in equal measure. The next evening, Amanda's mother brought up the subject at dinner. We were all sitting at the dining room table, eating the pot roast I'd made, when she suddenly looked at me with this practiced concern. "Dion, honey, have you given any thought to assisted living facilities?" she asked, her voice sugary sweet. "You'd have friends your own age there. Activities, proper care. It might be time to think about that transition." Marcus stared down at his plate, saying nothing. Amanda nodded along encouragingly. I set down my fork very carefully. "I'm 67 years old," I said clearly. "I'm in perfect health. I see my doctor regularly. My mind is completely sound. And this is my house." Amanda's brother, who'd been stuffing his face with my food, actually laughed. "Sounds like denial to me," he said, smirking. "Classic sign right there." The whole table went quiet. Everyone looked at me with this pitying expression, like I was already gone, already incompetent, already someone to be managed rather than respected. These people, sitting in my house, eating my food, were looking at me like I was a confused child who didn't understand his own situation. I excused myself from the table and went to my room. I didn't slam the door. I didn't yell. I just removed myself from a situation that had become unbearable. The next morning, I woke up to find my bedroom closet reorganized. All my clothes had been sorted into 2 piles: keep and donate. Someone had gone through my personal belongings while I slept and decided what I should keep and what I should throw away. Amanda appeared in my doorway, holding a garbage bag, smiling like she'd done me some wonderful favor. "I'm helping you downsize," she said brightly. "You have way too much stuff. This will make things easier when you eventually move to a smaller place." Something inside me broke completely. All the patience, all the restraint, all the quiet acceptance evaporated in an instant. "Get out of my room," I shouted, louder than I'd raised my voice in years. "This is my house. These are my belongings. You have no right." Marcus came running, Tyler crying in the background, chaos erupting. "Don't you dare yell at my girlfriend," Marcus screamed back at me. "She's trying to help you. What is wrong with you?" "Help me?" I was shaking now. "She's trying to erase me. She's documenting fake incidents to have me declared incompetent. She wants to put me in a nursing home so you can steal my house." "You're being paranoid," Marcus shouted. "Listen to yourself. Maybe Amanda's right about you. Maybe you really are losing it." We stood there screaming at each other, father and son, years of resentment and disappointment and betrayal pouring out in waves. Amanda stood behind Marcus playing the victim, crying, holding Tyler like I was some kind of threat. Then Marcus said the words that would change everything forever. "Move out!" he screamed, his face red, spit flying from his mouth. "I'm done with you, done with your attitude, your complaints, your selfishness. Get out of this house." I felt eerily calm suddenly. Cold. Clear. I looked at my son, really looked at him, and I said quietly, "This is my house, Marcus. I built it. I own it." "Then sell it," he shouted back. "Sell it and go find some retirement home somewhere. We don't want you here anymore. We're trying to raise a family, and you're making everything about you." Amanda stepped forward, emboldened by Marcus's rage. "He's right," she said, voice hard now, mask completely dropped. "You're toxic. We're done dealing with you. Leave." I turned and walked to my small bedroom at the end of the hall. I closed the door gently behind me. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I sat down on the edge of my bed and I opened my laptop. For the next 3 hours, I worked. I pulled up my bank statements. $423,000 in savings from a lifetime of careful planning. Pension of $3,200 per month. Social Security of $2,100. I'd been responsible my whole life. I'd prepared for retirement. I had resources. Then I researched my house value. The real estate market had been strong. My house, fully paid off, no mortgage, was currently worth $950,000, maybe more to the right buyer. Then I did something Marcus never could have expected. I started researching Monaco. I'd always dreamed of traveling after retirement but stayed local for Marcus, thinking family was more important. I'd put my life on hold to be available for my son. That ended today. Monaco residency requirements. Cost of living. Rental properties. Healthcare. Banking. I researched everything methodically, carefully, the way I'd approached every major decision in my life. As I worked, a strange calm settled over me. They wanted me gone. They wanted me out of this house. They wanted me to disappear from their lives. Fine. I'd give them exactly what they asked for, but not the way they expected. They thought they'd inherit this house. They thought I'd sell it and move into some small apartment nearby where they could control me, eventually talk me into signing over my assets, maybe even succeed in having me declared incompetent and seizing everything. They had no idea what was about to hit them. I started making phone calls. First to Harold, my old friend from the construction industry who'd become a real estate agent. I explained what I needed. A fast sale, price to move, no delays. They thought they'd inherit this house. They thought I'd sell it and move into some small apartment nearby where they could control me, eventually talk me into signing over my assets, maybe even succeed in having me declared incompetent and seizing everything. "It stopped being my home," I replied. "The day my son told me to get out." I started making phone calls. First to Harold, my old friend from the construction industry who'd become a real estate agent. I explained what I needed. A fast sale, price to move, no delays. They wanted me gone. They'd get their wish, but they'd lose everything in the process. And for the first time, in 3 years, I felt something I hadn't felt in so long I'd almost forgotten the sensation. Power. Control over my own life. Freedom. I closed my laptop, set it aside, and finally slept peacefully. The next morning, I came out of my room acting completely normal. Pleasant, even. I made breakfast, said good morning to Marcus, and Amanda smiled at little Tyler in his high chair. They looked surprised, maybe a bit confused, but mostly relieved. They thought yesterday's explosion had ended with them winning, with me accepting my place. Marcus actually apologized at breakfast, though the apology was hollow. "Sorry for yelling, Dad," he said, not meeting my eyes. "We were all stressed, but maybe you can start looking at some senior living communities. We can help you find something nice." "I'll think about it," I said mildly, eating my eggs. Amanda smiled, satisfied. They thought they'd broken me. They thought I'd surrendered. They had absolutely no idea that while they slept comfortably in my master bedroom, I'd been planning my escape. That afternoon, while they were out at Amanda's mother's house, I called Harold. He arrived within an hour, professional and discreet. We walked through the house together, him taking notes, me pointing out all the updates and improvements I'd made over 40 years. "I can list this tomorrow," Harold said. "Market's strong. Location's excellent. You've maintained it beautifully. I'd estimate 950,000, but we might get more. How fast do you want to move?" 3 weeks, I said. "Maybe less if possible." Harold looked at me carefully. He'd known me 30 years. He knew I didn't make rash decisions. "Where are you going?" he asked gently. He nodded slowly, understanding more than I'd said. "I'll make this happen, Dion. I promise." 3 weeks, I said. "Maybe less if possible." Harold looked at me carefully. He'd known me 30 years. He knew I didn't make rash decisions. Meanwhile, I visited my attorney Patricia. She'd handled Sarah's estate 15 years ago, knew our family history. When I explained what was happening, her expression shifted from shock to anger to determination. "I want to update my will," I told her. "Where are you going?" he asked gently. Meanwhile, I visited my attorney Patricia. She'd handled Sarah's estate 15 years ago, knew our family history. When I explained what was happening, her expression shifted from shock to anger to determination. That evening, I sat in my small room researching Monaco in detail. I learned about the principality, its history, its culture. No income tax for residents. Beautiful Mediterranean climate. Safe, clean, sophisticated. I found a gorgeous apartment available for rent. 2 bedrooms, balcony overlooking the water, 3,000 euros per month. I did the math carefully. With my savings and pension and social security, I could live comfortably in Monaco for decades. Better than comfortably. I could actually enjoy my life for the first time in years. I contacted the Monaco landlord through email, explained my situation honestly but briefly. He was an older French gentleman named Bernard, who seemed charmed by my story. We arranged everything remotely. I wired the first and last month's rent plus security deposit. The apartment was mine starting in 3 weeks. I booked a one-way first-class ticket to Nice, France. The flight left in 21 days. I'd take a helicopter from Nice to Monaco. I'd never flown first class in my life. Always been too frugal, too practical. Not anymore. If I was starting over, I was doing it right. I opened a bank account with a Monaco institution that specialized in expat finances. Over the next week, I quietly transferred most of my savings there. Small amounts at first, then larger sums. Nothing that would trigger alerts. Just a man moving his money to different accounts. Completely legal. Completely untraceable unless someone was specifically looking. And Marcus never paid attention to my finances. Meanwhile, life at home continued its terrible pattern. Marcus and Amanda grew more demanding by the day. They repainted the nursery without asking, chose new furniture for the living room, acted like owners making improvements to their property. Amanda told me they were having a family portrait taken, just the 3 of them. "You understand, right?" she said, not really asking. "It's for our immediate family." I understood perfectly. I wasn't family anymore. I was an obstacle they were maneuvering around. Marcus asked me to babysit Tyler one evening so they could go out to dinner. When I said I had plans, he exploded. "You live here rent-free and can't even help with your own grandson?" he shouted. "What kind of grandfather are you?" Meanwhile, life at home continued its terrible pattern. Marcus and Amanda grew more demanding by the day. They repainted the nursery without asking, chose new furniture for the living room, acted like owners making improvements to their property. Amanda told me they were having a family portrait taken, just the 3 of them. "You understand, right?" she said, not really asking. "It's for our immediate family." Then Harold called with news that changed everything. We had offers, multiple offers. The house had been listed for only 6 days, and we had 3 serious buyers interested. One was offering $1,050,000, all cash, able to close in 2 weeks. He didn't hesitate. Accept it. Where will you go? Harold asked again. Somewhere beautiful, I said. Somewhere I can finally breathe. The closing was scheduled for a Tuesday morning, 13 days away. I started packing slowly, carefully. Just 2 suitcases of essentials. Clothes, toiletries, my medications. Family photos of Sarah and me, from before Marcus turned into someone I didn't recognize. Sarah's wedding ring, that I still kept in my drawer. My father's watch. Small things that mattered, that held memories of people who actually loved me. I boxed up a few other precious items and shipped them to a storage unit I'd rented under a different name in a town 40 miles away. Sarah's recipe box. Our wedding album. Letters she'd written me during our courtship. Things I couldn't carry but couldn't leave behind. Everything else, all the furniture and belongings I'd accumulated over 40 years, would stay with the house. Marcus and Amanda could fight the new owners for it if they wanted. Not my problem anymore. The closing day arrived. Marcus and Amanda were taking Tyler to the park that morning. They left at 9, mentioning they might get lunch after. Perfect timing. I drove to the title company at 10. Harold met me there, along with the buyers and their agent. We sat in a conference room with papers spread across a long table. I signed document after document, my hand steady, my mind clear. Transfer of deed, settlement statement, tax documents, everything official, everything legal, everything final. At 11:17 on a Tuesday morning, I sold the house I'd built with my own hands. The cashier's check was for $1,037,000 after all fees and Harold's commission. I took a photo of it with my phone, then walked directly to my bank and deposited it. From there, I transferred it immediately to my Monaco account. I drove home one last time. The house was empty. Marcus and Amanda still at the park, probably letting Tyler play on the swings, completely unaware that the ground had just disappeared beneath their feet. I walked through the room slowly, saying goodbye to memories more than to the physical space. This kitchen where Sarah taught me to cook, that living room where we celebrated every Christmas, the bedroom where we held each other through happy times and hard times, the nursery where I rocked Marcus to sleep as a baby, never imagining he'd grow into the man who'd betray me so completely. But those memories belonged to a different house, a different life. This place stopped being my home the day I became unwelcome in it. I went to my small room and grabbed my 2 packed suitcases. Everything I needed for my new life fit in 2 bags. Everything else was just weight I didn't need to carry anymore. Then I did something that felt both cruel and perfectly just. I took out a piece of paper and wrote a simple note. No explanations, no apologies, no forwarding address, just the facts. You said move out. I'm done too, house sold. Closing was today. New owners take possession Friday. You have 3 days. Good luck, Dad. I left the note on the kitchen counter where they'd find it immediately. Then I walked out the front door, put my suitcases in my car, and drove away. I didn't look back. Not once. That part of my life was over. I checked into an airport hotel that night. Tomorrow, I'd fly to Monaco. But tonight, I lay in a generic hotel bed and felt something I hadn't felt in 3 years. Peace. Absolute, complete peace. My phone started ringing around 8 that evening. Marcus, probably home from the park, probably found the note. I silenced it and ordered room service. A nice steak dinner, a glass of wine, a piece of chocolate cake for dessert. I ate slowly, savoring every bite, watching mindless television, and not thinking about anything beyond this moment. The phone kept buzzing. Text messages piling up, voicemails accumulating. I didn't look. Not yet. Let them panic. Let them scramble. Let them feel one tiny fraction of the fear and powerlessness they'd made me feel for 3 years. Tomorrow, I'd fly to Monaco. But tonight, I celebrated my freedom. Wednesday morning, I woke up in that hotel room feeling lighter than I had in years. I showered, dressed in comfortable clothes for travel, and checked out. The airport was only 20 minutes away. I arrived 3 hours early because I've always been the kind of person who likes plenty of time, and today especially, I wanted no rush, no stress, no complications. Security was quick. I made my way to the first-class lounge, a place I'd never been before. Comfortable chairs, free food and drinks, quiet spaces to relax. I sat by a window watching planes take off and land, sipping decent coffee, feeling completely surreal about what I was doing. My flight boarded right on time. First class was at the front of the plane, separated from the rest by a curtain that might as well have been a wall to a different world. Wide leather seats that reclined almost flat. A flight attendant named Jennifer who asked my name and actually remembered it. Warm towels, real silverware, a menu with actual choices. I ordered champagne before takeoff. Why not? I was 67 years old, flying first class for the first time in my life, starting completely over in a country I'd never visited. If that didn't deserve champagne, nothing did. The woman in the seat next to mine introduced herself as Dorothy. She was maybe 70, elegant in a simple way, traveling alone like me. We started talking, and she mentioned she was a retired English teacher from Boston, heading to France to spend a month with her daughter who'd married a Frenchman and moved to Lyon. "And you?" she asked. "What brings you to France?" "New beginning," I said simply. "I'm moving to Monaco." Her eyebrows rose. "How wonderful and adventurous. Are you meeting family there?" "No family," I said. "Just me. Starting fresh." Something in my voice must have conveyed the story beneath those words because Dorothy nodded knowingly and didn't pry. Instead, she told me about her own fresh start after her husband died 5 years ago, how she'd learned to travel alone, discovered she actually preferred it, found freedom in independence. "New beginning," I said simply. "I'm moving to Monaco. No family," I said. "Just me. Starting fresh." "Whatever brought you here," she said. "I hope you find what you're looking for." "I already have," I replied. "Peace." I'd arranged a helicopter transfer from Nice to Monaco. It cost more than I'd usually spend on a month of groceries back home, but I'd stopped counting pennies. The helicopter ride was breathtaking. 20 minutes over the Mediterranean coastline, watching the sun set over the water, seeing Monaco appear below like something from a movie. We landed on a heliport near the harbor. A taxi took me to my new apartment building. Modern, elegant, not ostentatious but clearly well-maintained. A doorman greeted me by name, Bernard having obviously prepared everyone for my arrival. I took the elevator to the 8th floor. My hands shook slightly as I unlocked the door to apartment 8C. Then I stepped inside and just stopped. Floor-to-ceiling windows along one entire wall, a balcony overlooking the Mediterranean. The sun had just set, leaving the sky painted in oranges and purples. Yachts dotted the harbor below. The city lights were starting to come on, twinkling like stars reflected on water. I walked to the balcony door, opened it, stepped outside. The air smelled like salt and flowers. I could hear the water, distant music from somewhere, the hum of a city that felt alive but not aggressive. I stood there gripping the railing, and finally, the tears came. Not tears of sadness, tears of relief so profound it was almost painful. I'd escaped. I was free. I was standing on a balcony in Monaco watching the Mediterranean turn dark blue beneath a purple sky, and nobody here wanted anything from me. Nobody here resented my existence. Nobody here was plotting to institutionalize me and steal my assets. I was just Dion, 67 years old, starting over, and it felt like being reborn. I went back inside, found my phone in my jacket pocket. The screen showed 43 missed calls. Text messages in the hundreds. I sat down on the couch and finally looked. The first calls and texts were from Wednesday evening my time, Tuesday evening back home. Marcus finding the note. Confusion, then panic. "Dad, where are you? What is this note? Call me now. Dad, this isn't funny. Where did you go? Answer your phone." I scrolled through dozens of similar messages. Then the tone shifted. "He must have gone to check county records," confirmed the sale. "You actually sold the house? Are you insane? Where are we supposed to go?" We have a baby. How could you do this to us? More calls. More messages. Marcus getting angrier, then desperate, then manipulative. Dad, please. I'm sorry if I hurt you. Please call me. We can fix this. Dad, I know I said some things I didn't mean. Please. We need you. Amanda's voice in the background of one voicemail. Tell him we'll sue. He can't just abandon his grandson. I listened to maybe 10 of the voicemails, then deleted the rest. Each one was the same pattern. Anger, denial, bargaining, blaming. Never once did Marcus actually apologize for how he'd treated me. Never once did he acknowledge what he'd done wrong. He was only sorry about the consequences, not the actions. I blocked his number. Blocked Amanda's number. Anyone associated with them. Just completely cut off that channel of communication. Thursday morning Monaco time, I woke up in my new apartment to sunshine streaming through those huge windows. I made coffee in the small kitchen, took it out to the balcony, and just sat there watching the city wake up below me. People walking to work, boats leaving the harbor. Life happening in a place where nobody knew my name, or my history, or my pain. I ordered breakfast from a nearby cafe, practicing my very limited French. The woman on the phone was patient with me, switched to English when I struggled. 30 minutes later, someone delivered fresh croissants, fruit, yogurt, orange juice. I sat on my balcony eating breakfast and feeling like I was living someone else's life. That afternoon, I received an email from Patricia, my attorney back home. Marcus had shown up at her office that morning, furious and desperate. He'd demanded to know where I'd gone. He'd threatened legal action. He'd claimed I was mentally incompetent, and the house sale should be voided. Patricia shut him down completely. She'd shown him the updated will, where he received $1. She'd explained that I was completely mentally sound, that she had documentation of my cognitive capacity, that the house sale was entirely legal. Then she'd told Marcus that if he continued to harass me or attempt any legal action, she would pursue charges against him and Amanda for attempted elder abuse, given Amanda's documented attempts to have me falsely declared incompetent. Marcus had left her office in tears, according to Patricia's email. She wrote, "He finally realized what he lost. Not the house, though that's significant. But you. He lost his father. And I think that reality is hitting him hard now. Whether he deserves sympathy for that is not for me to judge, but I thought you should know." I read that email 3 times, sitting on my balcony watching the sunset over Monaco. I felt something, but it wasn't satisfaction. It wasn't even sadness, really. It was more like closure. Marcus had made his choices. He'd treated me like a burden, planned to institutionalize me, told me to leave. Now he was experiencing the consequences of those choices. I didn't respond to Patricia's email right away. Instead, I poured myself a glass of wine, a local white that the woman at the market had recommended. I raised the glass to the sunset and said quietly, "To second chances." Marcus could cry all he wanted. He could regret his choices. He could miss his father. But none of that changed what he'd done or how he'd made me feel. And none of it was my responsibility to fix anymore. I was in Monaco. He was in whatever temporary housing he'd scrambled to find. And for the first time in 3 years, the distance between us felt exactly right. My first week in Monaco, I spent most of my time just walking. I explored my neighborhood, learned where the grocery store was, found a bakery that made bread that reminded me of something Sarah used to bake. I walked along the harbor, watching expensive yachts bob gently in the water. I sat in public gardens, reading books I'd been meaning to read for years. I met my neighbors gradually. Gerard lived in apartment 8A, a French retiree who'd worked as an architect for 40 years. We ran into each other at the mailboxes one morning and struck up a conversation. He invited me for coffee on his balcony that afternoon. Gerard was maybe 70, silver-haired, elegant in that effortless way some French people are. We talked about our careers, our lives, the reasons we'd ended up in Monaco. He'd moved here after his wife died, wanting a fresh start somewhere beautiful. "And you?" he asked. "What brought you here from America?" "My son told me to move out," I said simply. So I sold the house and came here instead. Gerard laughed, not mockingly but with understanding. Good for you, he said. Too many people sacrifice themselves for ungrateful children. You chose yourself. That takes courage. I met Linda a few days later at a small cafe where I'd started having breakfast most mornings. She was American, maybe 65, from California originally. Her husband had died 3 years ago, and she'd sold everything and moved to Monaco on a whim. Best decision I ever made, she told me over espresso and croissants. My kids thought I was crazy. They wanted me to move closer to them, babysit their kids, be available for them constantly. But I'd spent 40 years being available for everyone else. I wanted to be available for myself for once. The three of us, Gerard, Linda, and me, started meeting for coffee every morning at the same cafe. We'd sit outside watching Monaco wake up, talking about everything and nothing. Politics, books, travel, memories. They never pushed me to share more than I wanted to about my past, and I appreciated that respect. I started walking several miles every day. Monaco isn't large, and I'd circle the Principality, learning every street, every viewpoint, every quiet corner. I lost weight without trying. My knee that had been bothering me for years stopped hurting. My doctor back home had said I needed to be more active, and now I was, naturally, because my life had space for it. I joined a gym near my apartment. Nothing fancy, just a place with weights and treadmills. I'd go 3 mornings a week, work out for an hour, feel stronger than I had in decades. The young trainer there, a guy named Mark, showed me proper form and never made me feel old or incapable. I took a cooking class at a local community center. French cuisine, taught by a woman named Claudette, who spoke minimal English and forced me to stumble through French. I learned to make coq au vin, ratatouille, proper French onion soup. I'd cook these meals in my small kitchen and invite Gerard and Linda over to share them. My old work buddies back home started noticing the change. I'd video call with them once a week, and they'd comment on how different I looked. "You look 20 years younger, Dion," my old foreman Charlie said during one call. "You're practically glowing. Monaco's treating you well." "It's not Monaco," I replied. "It's peace. It's living for myself for the first time in forever." Meanwhile, Marcus kept trying to reach me. He'd create new email addresses when I blocked the old ones, new phone numbers that I'd silence and block. The messages kept coming, following a predictable pattern. First, anger. "You abandoned your family. You're a terrible father." "And Amanda?" Then manipulation. "Tyler asks about you. Don't you care about your grandson?" Then desperation. "We lost everything because of you. Amanda left me. I have nothing. Please help." That last one made me pause. Amanda left him. I felt a pang of something, but not the guilt Marcus wanted me to feel. More like vindication mixed with sadness. Their relationship had been built on greed and entitlement. Of course, it collapsed when the house disappeared. One email revealed more details. After I'd left, Marcus and Amanda had 3 days to move out before the new owners took possession. They'd scrambled, begged Amanda's mother to take them in. Moved into her small house with Tyler, all 3 of them crammed into 1 bedroom. Marcus couldn't find work. Amanda's hours at the salon got cut. They fought constantly. Amanda blamed Marcus for losing the house. Marcus blamed me. Their relationship imploded under the pressure. Amanda moved out after 2 months, took Tyler, went to stay with her sister in another state. Marcus was living with her mother still, unemployed, alone, broke. He'd lost his girlfriend, his son, his home, and his father in the span of 3 months. Part of me, the father part that never completely dies, felt sad about that. But the larger part, the part that had been abused and disrespected and nearly institutionalized, felt nothing but relief that I wasn't there to be blamed and used anymore. I didn't respond to any of Marcus's messages. There was nothing to say. He'd made his choices. These were the consequences. I couldn't fix his life. And more importantly, I didn't want to try. One email revealed more details. After I'd left, Marcus and Amanda had 3 days to move out before the new owners took possession. They'd scrambled, begged Amanda's mother to take them in. Moved into her small house with Tyler, all three of them crammed into one bedroom. I heard what happened from Marcus's perspective, Joseph wrote, which I'm sure was heavily biased in his favor. But I wanted to reach out to you directly because I knew Marcus in college. I saw how entitled he was even back then, how he expected everything handed to him, how he blamed everyone else when things went wrong. I'm sorry he treated you the way he did. You deserved better from your own son. I hope you're doing well, wherever you are. I didn't respond to any of Marcus's messages. There was nothing to say. He'd made his choices. These were the consequences. I couldn't fix his life. And more importantly, I didn't want to try. Amanda moved out after 2 months, took Tyler, went to stay with her sister in another state. Marcus was living with her mother still, unemployed, alone, broke. He'd lost his girlfriend, his son, his home, and his father in the span of 3 months. Dr. Chen helped me understand something important. I hadn't abandoned Marcus. Marcus had abandoned me first. Emotionally, practically, morally. He'd stopped seeing me as his father and started seeing me as an asset to be managed and eventually acquired. I was moved by this stranger's kindness. Someone who owed me nothing, taking time to reach out and validate my experience. I wrote back thanking him, telling him briefly about Monaco, about my new life. We exchanged a few more emails. Joseph had his own difficult family history, and there was something comforting about connecting with someone who understood complicated parent-child relationships. The house sale, she helped me see, was the first real consequence Marcus had ever faced in his adult life. It was painful for him, yes, but it was also possibly the most loving thing I could have done. It forced him to grow up, to take responsibility, to understand that actions have consequences. I still loved my son. That never goes away completely. But I finally understood that loving him didn't mean sacrificing myself for him. It didn't mean letting him abuse me. It didn't mean funding his life while he drained mine. 4 months into my Monaco life, I received a certified letter, forwarded from Patricia. The return address was from a town I didn't recognize in another state. I opened it carefully. It was from Amanda. 3 pages, handwritten. No manipulation, just raw honesty. She'd left Marcus, she wrote, taken Tyler, and moved in with her sister. She was in therapy too, working through her own issues. She admitted everything. The plan to push me out. The fake documentation. The scheme to have me declared incompetent and seize control of the house. Marcus was part of it, she wrote. But I was the one who pushed hardest. I was greedy. I saw you as an obstacle to getting what I wanted. I treated you horribly. I have no excuse except that I was selfish and cruel, and I'm sorry. I'm trying to be better now, for Tyler's sake. He deserves a mother who isn't the person I was. She included photos of Tyler. A beautiful little boy, now over a year old, smiling at the camera. She wrote that I was welcome to visit him if I ever wanted to. Gave her new address and phone number. But emphasized there was no pressure, no expectation, just an open door if I ever chose to walk through it. I sat on my balcony reading that letter 3 times, tears streaming down my face. Not for the apology, though that mattered, but for the courage it took Amanda to write it. For the acknowledgement that what happened was real, was wrong, was worth apologizing for. I wrote back. Kept it short, kind, honest. Thanked her for the apology. Told her I appreciated her honesty and her efforts to change. Said I needed more time before I was ready for any contact with Tyler, but I'd keep the door open. Maybe someday. I didn't forgive her completely, not yet, but I respected her enough to respond. That felt like progress. 6 months after arriving in Monaco, I stood on my balcony one morning and realized I couldn't remember the last time I'd felt sad. Not about Marcus, not about the house, not about anything. I was genuinely, consistently happy. My French had improved enough to have basic conversations. My friend group had expanded beyond Gerard and Linda to include several other expats and locals. I'd volunteered at a local charity, that helped elderly people navigate international relocations, using my own experience to guide others through similar transitions. I'd joined a walking club that met every Saturday morning. 10 or 12 of us would walk through Monaco and into the surrounding hills, talking and laughing and enjoying the Mediterranean sunshine. These people knew me as Dion, the American retiree, who made excellent French onion soup and told funny stories about his construction days. They didn't know about Marcus or Amanda or the betrayal. I was just myself, without all that painful history weighing me down. I'd even found part-time consulting work. A construction firm in Monaco needed advice on a renovation project, and someone had recommended me. I spent a few hours a week reviewing plans, offering suggestions, feeling useful in a way that had nothing to do with being someone's father or grandfather or victim. My health was excellent. My doctor in Monaco, Dr. Laurent, couldn't believe I was 67. My blood pressure had dropped. My cholesterol improved. I'd lost 23 pounds without dieting, just from walking and eating better and not being constantly stressed. I slept deeply every night. No more lying awake worrying about what Marcus might do next. Then, around month 6, I received one final email from Marcus. The tone was completely different from all the previous messages. No anger, no manipulation, no demands. Just raw, painful honesty. "Dad," it began, "I don't expect you to respond to this. I don't deserve a response. But I need to say some things, even if you never read them. I'd even found part-time consulting work. A construction firm in Monaco needed advice on a renovation project, and someone had recommended me. I spent a few hours a week reviewing plans, offering suggestions, feeling useful in a way that had nothing to do with being someone's father or grandfather or victim. I told myself we deserved the house because I grew up there. But the truth is, you built that house. You paid for it. You maintained it. It was yours, and I treated it like it was already mine before you were even gone. I lost everything, Dad. Amanda left and took Tyler. I'm still unemployed. I'm living with Amanda's mother in her spare bedroom at 35 years old. I lost my girlfriend, my son, my home, and my father in 3 months. But losing you is what actually matters. The rest is just consequences of my own choices. But you were the only person who ever truly loved me unconditionally, and I destroyed that. I took your love for granted. I treated you like a burden when you were the only person who was actually there for me my entire life. I don't know if you'll ever forgive me. I don't know if I deserve forgiveness. But I needed you to know that I finally understand what I did. I finally see how wrong I was. And I'm sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry. I hope you're happy, wherever you are. I hope you found peace. You deserved so much better than what I gave you. Marcus. I read that email sitting on my balcony, watching the morning sun sparkle on the Mediterranean. I cried, but not from sadness, from release. From the validation that what I'd experienced was real, that my pain had been justified, that my decision to leave had been necessary. I took a week to think about how to respond. I talked to Dr. Chen about it. I talked to Gerard and Linda, both of whom had their own complicated family stories. Gerard encouraged reconciliation. His estranged daughter had reached out years ago, and rebuilding that relationship had been one of the best things in his life. Linda warned against it. She'd reconciled with her abusive son, let him back into her life, and he'd immediately started exploiting her again. She had to cut him off a second time, and it had been even harder than the first. Only you know what's right for your heart, Linda said. But don't mistake an apology for a change in character. Words are easy. Behavior is what matters. I realized something important during that week of reflection. Forgiveness didn't require reconciliation. I could forgive Marcus for my own peace without letting him back into my life. Those were separate decisions, and I didn't have to make them both. After 10 days, I wrote back, kept it brief. Marcus, I forgive you. I hope you find peace and become the man I always believed you could be. But I won't be part of that journey. I spent 67 years putting others first. The last 6 months, I've finally put myself first. I'm healthier and happier than I've been in decades. I wish you well, but from a distance. Maybe someday that will change. But not today. Take care of yourself. Dad. I hit send and felt an enormous weight lift from my shoulders. This was closure, real closure. Not the messy kind where everything gets resolved and everyone hugs and cries. The honest kind where you acknowledge what happened, accept it, and move forward anyway. 2 weeks later, another package arrived. From Amanda again. She'd made a photo album of Tyler's first year. Pictures of him learning to crawl, taking his first steps, smiling with birthday cake all over his face. A note was attached. He should know his grandfather, even if from afar. I'll send updates if you want them. No pressure, no expectations, just offering. Also included was a letter from Amanda's therapist, confirming she was in intensive counseling, working on her issues, making genuine progress toward becoming a better person. I was touched, but cautious. I wrote back agreeing to occasional updates, maybe video calls with Tyler when he was older, and could actually understand who I was. But no promises, no commitments, no pressure on either of us. This felt manageable. A door left open just a crack, not thrown wide but not slammed shut either. I discovered a community garden near my apartment building around this time. Small plots available for rent, €30 a month. I rented one and started growing things. Tomatoes, herbs, flowers. The same things I'd grown with Sarah, 40 years ago, in our backyard. Working in that garden, my hands in the soil, I felt Sarah's presence stronger than I had in years. I'd talk to her sometimes while I worked. I finally chose myself, sweetheart, I said one afternoon, planting basil. I think you'd be proud. I realized something working in that garden. Selling the house hadn't been about revenge, though it had felt like that at first. It had been about survival. I was drowning in that house, in that relationship with Marcus, in that role of the endlessly giving father who received nothing in return. The house sale was me choosing to breathe instead of drown. I started writing a blog, called it Second Acts, Choosing Yourself After 60. I wrote about my experience honestly, the pain of being pushed out by my own son, the betrayal of overhearing them plan my removal, the fear and exhilaration of selling everything and moving to another country alone at 67, the peace I'd found in Monaco, the healing that comes from choosing yourself. The response was overwhelming. Hundreds of people reached out with similar stories, adult children who'd exploited their parents, families who'd taken advantage of elderly relatives, people who'd sacrificed everything and received nothing but contempt in return. I started helping others plan their own escapes. Not everyone wanted to move to Monaco, obviously. But so many elderly people were trapped in toxic situations with family members, feeling guilty about the idea of leaving, believing they owed their children unconditional support, no matter how badly they were treated. I became an advocate for elder rights. I spoke at virtual conferences about financial abuse of the elderly, emotional manipulation, the importance of boundaries even with family. My story resonated because it was real, because I'd actually done what so many people only dreamed of doing. My pain had found purpose. That mattered to me. 1 year after leaving America, I stood on my balcony at sunset with a glass of good champagne. Not the cheap stuff I used to buy on sale, but actual quality champagne that I'd learned to appreciate. I raised the glass to the darkening sky and the glittering sea. I thought about the man who'd fled his own country with 2 suitcases and a shattered heart. That man had been broken, defeated, convinced his life was essentially over at 67. I looked at who I was now. Healthy, fit, respected in my community, purposeful in my work. I had friends who valued me, a life I'd built on my own terms, freedom I'd fought for and earned. My phone buzzed. Gerard texting about dinner tomorrow night at his place. Linda asking if I wanted to join the book club she'd started. Amanda sending a photo of Tyler at the beach, smiling in the sunshine. I'd built a life. A real life. Not the one I'd planned when I was young and thought family was everything, but a good life nonetheless. Maybe even a better one. I thought about what I'd learned through all of this. For decades, I'd believed that love meant sacrifice, that being a good father meant enduring anything, giving everything, putting Marcus first no matter what he did or how he treated me. I'd been wrong. Real love includes boundaries. It includes self-respect. It includes mutual care, not one-sided depletion. Giving everything to Marcus hadn't helped him. It had crippled him, taught him he'd never face consequences, never need to be responsible, never have to earn what he received. My phone buzzed. Gerard texting about dinner tomorrow night at his place. Linda asking if I wanted to join the book club she'd started. Amanda sending a photo of Tyler at the beach, smiling in the sunshine. 1 year after leaving America, I stood on my balcony at sunset with a glass of good champagne. Not the cheap stuff I used to buy on sale, but actual quality champagne that I'd learned to appreciate. I raised the glass to the darkening sky and the glittering sea. I raised my champagne glass again, this time toasting myself, to survival, to courage, to choosing myself after a lifetime of choosing everyone else. The best revenge, I discovered, wasn't the house sale itself. The best revenge was building a beautiful life without the people who'd taken me for granted, living well, being happy, thriving in the space they'd tried to squeeze me out of. I finally understood something Dr. Chen had said months ago. You can't pour from an empty cup. For years I'd poured and poured and poured until nothing remained. I was running on empty, dying slowly while everyone around me took and took and took. Now I was full again, full of joy, purpose, peace, possibility, and I would never, ever go back to empty. I finished my champagne and watched the last light fade over the Mediterranean. Tomorrow I'd wake up in this beautiful place, make my espresso, maybe work in my garden. I'd meet Gerard and Linda for coffee, perhaps write another blog post helping someone else escape their own toxic situation. I'd video call with old friends, work on my consulting project, take a long walk through Monaco's gardens. I'd live another day of the life I chose, the life I built, the life I deserved. And somewhere in America, Marcus would wake up in whatever small room he occupied now. Maybe he'd think about his father. Maybe he'd feel regret. Maybe he'd finally start the hard work of becoming a better person. But that was Marcus's journey. Mine was here, in the golden light of Monaco, in the peace I'd fought so hard to find. I'd sold a house, but I'd bought myself back. And that trade was worth every single penny. If you're living for everyone else, you're dying for yourself. I learned that at 67 years old. Don't wait as long as I did. Your life is yours. Your peace matters. Your happiness counts. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is choose yourself. It's not selfish. It's survival. And on the other side of that choice? Freedom, peace, a second chance at joy. I found mine on a balcony in Monaco, watching the sun set over the Mediterranean, finally breathing freely after years of suffocation. Where will you find yours? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever had to make an impossible choice between family and your own well-being? What would you do in my situation? Leave a comment below, and let's talk about it. And if this story touched you, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing for more real stories about finding strength in the hardest moments. Share this with someone who might need to hear that choosing yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope wherever you are in your own journey, you find the courage to choose peace over pain, yourself over endless sacrifice, and freedom over obligation. May you find your own balcony in Monaco, whatever that looks like for you. Take care of yourselves, and remember that it's never too late to start over.